Hello. Okay, so this one actually really has to be short because I have an appointment I have to go to, but we are going to really quick look into the night of the murders from the perspective of the knife. Sounds a little weird. Do knives have energy? No, I can't read the knife like I would read a person, but the intention that I'm putting out for this reading is to, from the perspective of the universe, looking at the knife going through that night, if the knife could then talk. Obviously it can't talk. I'm not saying this is coming from the knife. I'm saying this is coming from the universe, as if the universe was the perspective of the knife that night. I don't know what we're gonna get here, but I had this thought and then I couldn't let it go, so here we are. But it's gonna be quick. So I'm gonna do it like I did the other reading, but we're gonna do 5 rows, or not 5 rows, 2 rows of 5. 2 rows of 5. Yes. Five of Swords in reverse. 2 rows of 5. We're talking about the knife. Okay. High Priestess. Six of Wands in reverse. Eight of Swords. 10 of Pentacles. Reversed 7 of Wands. Three of Cups. Reversed 9 of Cups. King of Wands. Ten of Swords reversed. So we have 5 of Swords, High Priestess, 6 of Wands. So this is some resentment, like a past resentment or an ongoing battle that the knife's handler was going through. Like, that's how the knife came into the picture of that day, is the knife came into the picture because there was some kind of resentment. There was some kind of like a desire to reconcile and rise above a situation, but it wasn't happening that way. Something internally was telling the killer to bring this knife, to get the knife, to bring the knife, to think about the knife, something like that. When the knife came into the story this day, something internally within the killer was focused on a past resentment or a building resentment, and internally he was like, this is what I have to do. This is what I feel is right. I have to do, what's next? 6 of Wands. Yeah. Like I have to, all the pain that the killer was keeping inside, that was what was telling him that he had to do something. This knife was somewhere in like a like a dark, secluded place, such as a trunk. I'm gonna say trunk. Like a trunk, because it would be like a place where it's like slightly separate from the person, but is still there. Like this car started the day in the trunk and came into the picture because of a past resentment that the killer could not let go and kept rehashing in his mind. And he felt like, I have to do something. So that's how the knife came into the picture. Then we have the 8 of Swords and 10 of Pentacles. So it's like he was trapped in these thoughts. He couldn't get out. It was the same thoughts over and over. Ten of Pentacles is family. So that's it, this past resentment. The knife started coming into this picture and being an option for the killer because of a past resentment that has something to do with family and lack of family support. That was brewing in his mind, and that was what initially caused him to think, I'm going to do something not right with this knife. And it was like playing the victim and then like hyping yourself up in that victim mentality. So like, I'm the victim. Yeah, I'm the victim. I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Like he essentially got like a microphone so that his subconscious could like yell through it. Like, you're the victim. You're doing the right thing. Like, that's maybe not the right thing. I think he obviously, knows he didn't do the right thing. But not caring because he felt like he had no option. That's what he had to do. Have to do it. Have to do it. Have no other way. Ten of Pentacles. So the college had parents' weekend. I think it was the weekend before or the week before or something like that. Like they just had parents' weekend. This knife has been in the car since then. Like, I think prior to this, the knife was not in the car. It was moved somewhere. But when the parents came for something on parents' weekend, this knife was moved into the place where it ended up being when the killer ended up needing it. So let's say they had it in their place of residence and they didn't want their parents to see it or say something about it or any other reason. But parents' weekend, this knife was moved into the car or a car. And that's where it stayed until this happened. And then we have 7 of Wands reversed, 3 of Cups, 9 of Cups reversed. So, okay, so the person, because of resentment, the person thinks it's a good idea to use the knife. They're trapped in their thoughts. The knife was moved into a car during parents' weekend. And that's not necessarily to say, let's say whoever did this isn't a student. It could have just been that there was a lot of people around. Like, for some reason, this knife was moved. It was moved, and it could just be a coincidence that it fell on parents' weekend. I don't think so, but I'm telling you, this knife had been in a vehicle, kind of hidden away, for about a week prior to this happening. Were they planning on doing this the whole time? I don't think that is necessarily it. but they needed some kind of outlet. So maybe they were planning on going hunting or something like that with the knife. It could have been that. What I'm saying is they had the knife somewhere, and then they took the knife out of wherever it normally was and put it into a vehicle so that they could use it for some kind of release about a week prior to this happening. So this person has been in a state of internal chaos for a week prior to that happening. A week prior to the murders happening. I'm likely longer than that, but like an urgent state of it since then. I don't know if the maybe expect. So if this person doesn't have a great relationship with their mother or father, and they live in a college town, and now parents' weekend, all the parents are coming down to see their children, that could have been a trigger. And then at all the other triggers of that day, getting in a fight with the mom or motherly figure or sister, aunt, something like that, it was just like almost like that weekend triggered the person, and then they got to a point where they're like, all right, I'm far enough past it that it's not overwhelming me. And then it was like trigger that day, and they were like, nope. And then the knife was already in the car, and it just happened to be accessible at the time that they needed it. But the Seven of Wands, Three of Cups combo is making me think that they're Nine of Cups, King of Wands, Ten of Swords. This knife saw more than one person that day. This knife encountered more than just the killer during the general time frame of the murders. It could have been before. Well, it has to be before, because this is going to be nine of okay, so in the car or accessible. Then we have Seven of Wands reversed, Three of Cups, Nine of Cups. So this is okay. So that's when. Okay, 1 second. That's when it gets disposed of. Yeah. This person tried to fight against the thoughts in their mind. Tried to fight it. It was a looping. This time. During this time, so the Ten of Pentacles is when the killer gets the knife, has the knife, takes it out of the trunk, takes it out wherever it was, and now has the knife and is kind of planning this in their head. And then the Seven of Wands is when they're like back and forth, should I do it, should I not, should I do it, should I not? And that's when they're like, you know what, I can't, I have to do something. I have to do this, or I have to go in there for whatever reason was in their mind. And then the Three of Cups, there's somebody else encountered the killer with this knife. I'm not saying it was an accomplice per se. And it may have been that he had it concealed at that time, but there is a third party. Okay, essentially what I'm saying is the killer had the knife on him, either visible or hidden, like concealed in a shirt or pants or pockets. I know it's a big knife, so maybe in a shirt or something, or maybe he was just holding it. I don't know, but from the knife's perspective, while the killer had the knife in their hand or possession, he encountered a friend or someone that he was talking to like a friend prior to the murders. I don't know how much of a role that other person played. And again, they may have not even been able to see the knife. It may have just been that he had it in the pocket and was talking to someone else with it in his pocket, and that's what we're seeing here. But the important thing to note is that when the killer had already made plans to kill, he had the weapon he was going, well, his plans weren't to kill, but his plans were to have that knife with him in case he had to, and he was okay if he had to. I guess you could put it that way. Was he expecting 4 people? No. But so he, after taking the weapon out of the car or wherever it was and saying, okay, I'm going to bring this just in case, or I'm going to bring it so I can kill him, whichever one it was at that point in his mind, while he had that weapon on him, he spoke to someone else before committing the murders. And then we have the 9 of Cups, which, just look at that picture. I told you that knife is in water. All the cups are dumping out into the, I mean, it's not this way. It's not that way, it's this way. It's the same, it's literally the same format, but it's reversed, so all the cups are spilling out. That's okay, so if someone brings a knife into a home with other people, and when they leave, they're unhappy with the result, it means that something that happened in there was not in their original plan. I believe that 2 of those people were not in the original plan and either we're not supposed to be there, or we're not supposed to be able to be awake, or not supposed to be awake. But the killer left very not happy with how things had to go down, while still not feeling remorseful, because he brought the knife. He knew that he would either definitely or possibly or probably be using it if he's bringing it to the house, because if someone sees you with that kind of knife, by that point it's obvious what your intentions are. But the 9 of Cups, he felt disappointed in how things had happened, and he killed the people and got away with it. He definitely, to this point, he definitely got a sick pleasure out of it. What could make him feel unhappy with it if more people got involved in it than he originally intended? If he's going in there for 1 or 2, and those other 2 people are kind of wrong place, wrong time, not supposed to be awake, not supposed to see him there. But that knife is in water. Then we have the King of Wands and reverse 10 of Swords. So the King of Wands is like the knife's in the water and the king leaves. Like the person who put the knife in the water then goes back and tries to make wise decisions, tries to be a leader. Maybe not in terms of like, oh, I want to lead the investigation, not anything like that, but like internally, like being very thoughtful with, okay, you have to do the right thing, like almost like coming up with a game plan for himself from himself, and then following that to make sure that it's not, to make sure his behaviors fits not that of a killer. And then we have the Ten of Swords in reverse. Which is really, looks very similar. It's like the, like upright, the swords going in the back, reverse, the swords are falling out. So I imagine that it was dropped into the water. The king left to go try and lead himself. I say king because it's a king of wands, not because he's a king. So the killer left to try and take that drive back and be like, okay, this is how I have to act. This is what I have to say. This is what's going to happen. And then the knife continued to fall to the bottom of the lake. And there's that star that kept, it was the one card where it was the star and the angel, and there was the star in the first row of the long reading. That knife is in the bottom of a lake. I believe Priest Lake. But there is a lake that there's no direct highway route from Moscow up to it. You have to go to a neighboring town in order to get on a direct route to head up from Troy or Kendrick. He went to one of those towns so that he could take a highway and not back roads to get to where he was going. And both of those towns have a highway that leads straight up north. And up north, in the bottom of a lake or body of water, is where that knife is right now.